Zac Blackerby covers the Auburn Tigers and is part of Village Vice, along with Brad Law, and maybe even more content coming your way from Zac. We'll perhaps make an announcement about that next week here on our platform. What is up, Zac? How are you?
What a tease. I can't wait to hear more.
Just wait till you hear what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
I know, like EG, you were over at practice earlier today, and I'll start the same way I started with her. Is there a broad takeaway? Is there anything that you would just say is a broad, I'm looking from the sidelines, this is a broad takeaway from the first 2 days of Auburn practice?
Yeah, from the first 2 days, absolutely. I think the roster looks larger than it did before. Obviously, wide receiver is the thing that Auburn fans are so excited about and craving some production from those wide receivers in the passing game. Got to see Perry Thompson for the first time as an Auburn Tiger, and he looks the part. He's just a freshman, so how quick can he come along? But obviously Perry Thompson has all the traits that you want out of an SEC wide receiver, which is what Hugh Freeze said at his fall opening presser yesterday. But he and Cam Coleman and Keandre Lambert-Smith and Rivaldo Fairweather, this group of pass catchers, it looks different than anything we've seen before at Auburn.
They look like, well, I don't want to overstate this. I'm not going to say Laquan Treadwell and those guys, but they look like Hugh Freeze's Ole Miss receivers. Like, you remember Hugh Freeze kind of had a look for an Ole Miss receiver, and these guys look a lot more like that.
Yeah. We're I was sitting next to Lance Dahl, who writes for AuburnDaily.com yesterday, and Perry walked in front of us, and he's like, "That is a Hugh Freeze receiver."
Yeah.
And he's right. I mean, Hugh Freeze has a type. There's no question about it. And there's a reason. I mean, you look at the A.J. Browns and the Van Jeffersons and the Laquan Treadwells. Like, those are guys that their game translated to the next level because they're big and fast, and it makes life easier for a quarterback, which seemed to be kind of the main objective this offseason for Auburn.
It's really easy to get intoxicated by the freshmen in this, but how important does having a guy who's been through the battles of big games like Lambert-Smith play in that receiving room and on game days, just to know that he's been in the battle before?
Yeah, I was interested to see how quickly they put Keandre Lambert-Smith up the depth chart, because he missed spring, much like Perry Thompson did. Obviously went through things at Penn State. It's a different situation because he's been playing college football for a while. But I was wondering, like, is the plan to have him ready day one, or are they going to kind of ease him in? And yesterday, we didn't get to see as much today, but yesterday, anytime the ones were there and they started subbing out of it, it was Cam Coleman, one outside wide receiver, and KLS was the other outside wide receiver. So you got to think that they're ready to get him involved. And after every rep, more so yesterday than today, but there was a coach in his ear after every rep. They're putting a lot of emphasis on making sure he's ready.
Our friend Zac Blackerby is with us. More on what Zac's doing this football season coming up next week. It's easy not to. You're laughing at his reaction.
Yeah, I was laughing at his reaction.
I'm hoping he knows anything about this.
I don't know what y'all are talking about. I can't wait to hear.
Jarquez Hunter. It's easy to talk about everything else and then forget about all the goodness you have coming back in Jarquez Hunter. This is maybe, when it's all said and done, the most dynamic running back in the SEC. Is that an overstatement?
I don't think so. He's good. There's no question about it. He's good, and I think the offense is going to be set up around him to be able to succeed. But it's not just Jarquez Hunter. Damari Austin looks incredible. I mean, it seems like he's put on some really good weight. And then Jeremiah Cobb, he was asked, Hugh Freeze was asked about Jeremiah Cobb yesterday, the biggest difference from now versus, a year ago, and he quickly said his thighs. So Jeremiah Cobb, maybe?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
Probably not. Maybe we can make it a thing. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, it's a loaded running back room. There's no question about it. And so Jarquez is going to lead the way, but it is going to be fun to see, like, what does the market share of touches and snaps and reps look like in the running back room? Because Auburn's got a good, nice problem on its hands there.
Look, it's 2 practices, so I don't anticipate, and we've seen spring, but even spring and 2 practices, you probably can't make this determination. But if I ask you to tell me what will I notice immediately different about a Ron Roberts defense and a DJ Durkin defense, what would be the answer?
I think they're going to send more. I think they're going to send more guys, and some of that I think is going to have to do with scheme, and I think some of that is going to have to do with can Auburn consistently get pressure when they rush 4? And I'm not sure that I'm there yet. There's a ton of belief in Keldrick Falk at defensive end taking that next step. He's got to do it. I mean, it seems like he's set up to do it, and they took him to media days, and they've really kind of propped him up, and he's deserving of it. But he's got to do it. He's got to do it on the field. And then you saw Jalen McLeod last year really come on towards the second half of the season. That's a guy who's like, can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy consistently? Then they brought in Kieran Crawford, who we saw for the first time yesterday and the second time today. Looks long, looks lean. So maybe he can kind of help as a pass rusher for the Tigers. But I think you're going to see guys like Eugene Asante and Austin Keys and maybe Dori Mayusi, the transfer from Duke. I think you're going to see some linebackers get sent to generate some pressure. One, out of scheme, because that's what Durkin does, and two, out of necessity, because they have to get a pass rush to win some games in the SEC.
As a cornerback, as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, I've watched Auburn's cornerbacks with my team for the last 4, 5, 6 years, and a couple of playoff trips and a Super Bowl. That Auburn DB room continues to produce some NFL-like talent. How good is the Auburn back into the defense this year?
Yeah, the Auburn cornerback that I can't quit watching and I can't quit talking about is Kayin Lee. I know Keontae Scott is getting a lot of the attention. He's the veteran that came back, and there's a lot of excitement about his game. 100% deserves all of it. But Kayin Lee, the sophomore corner, I think he's going to be one of the breakout stars in the SEC this year. I think he's exceptional. He hit the ground running as a true freshman going through spring last year. And I love corners. It's my favorite position to watch. And I'm watching this kid in his first, second, or third practice at the college level. And it's like his feet and his hands, he's doing things that you don't typically see early enrollee true freshmen do. And so fast forward a year later, after Nehemiah Pritchett missed the first few games of the season, he was kind of thrust into that starting role as a true freshman. He's exceptional. And I love that other guys are getting attention, because I don't think Kayin Lee really cares about that kind of stuff, because I don't think he's going to be, the loud type of corner. I think he's just going to line up and beat you. But Kayin Lee, to me, is the story of this defensive back room right now. I think he's going to be a star.
Zach, before you go, I was a little surprised when Coach Free sat down with us at SEC Media Days a couple weeks ago that they had done absolutely, if I understood him right, nothing with the in-helmet communication. Like, it was going to start day one of fall camp. And then I saw reports that did not go well. They won a fall camp. They weren't real happy with the way it went. Did I misread that?
Oh, interesting. I hadn't seen that report. He was asked about it going into the first practice when he did his presser yesterday, and he said he kind of laid the groundwork of like, yeah, that's part of fall camp. We've got to figure out what that looks like. So it sounded like he wasn't too excited about that process, and maybe that's why it didn't go well.
I think the report I saw, now this could have been related more to the play, and I would love to credit whoever tweeted this from practice or whatever their observation was that he slammed the headset down to the ground, and that could have been just play related, but I thought I remember them saying the in-helmet has not worked well, and maybe they were having communication issues. I just thought it was interesting that even this late they had done absolutely nothing with it, because I know they weren't able to do it in spring.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, coaches have to learn that too. I mean, all of your procedures and everything that you do on the sideline, that has to be practiced too. You don't just show up at game day and know how all that stuff works. So if that's going to be part of what they do, which I think you're at a disadvantage if you don't use it, they've got to figure that out. And so I don't know if it's a technology thing or if it was a connection thing or what, because they get 15 seconds. And so he talked about how important that would be to be able to communicate with Peyton yesterday. And so you got to think that they're going to do everything they can to make sure all that's good. But I hadn't seen that report, but he did sound a little nervous when he was talking about it yesterday.
All right, you can follow Zach on Twitter at @ZBlackerby on Twitter. Clint Lamb was on with us earlier. Clint covers Alabama. We said, Clint has moved on from On3. There'll be an announcement about his future next week. Zach is still doing a lot of things, but there will also be an announcement next week about some more things Zach is adding to the plate.
Congratulations. 5 years with Locked On, too. I saw that yesterday, man. That's a great run. You do great work there, and I know the Auburn fans love that. So 5 great years.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a fun ride, and excited to add more to the plate next week, maybe. Can't wait to see what the announcement is.
We'll have that for you next week. Zach, thank you. Have a great weekend. Always good to talk to you.
Hey, thanks, guys. Talk soon.
All right, buddy. Zac Blackerby with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.